Oklahoma ranks in the top 10 states suffering natural disasters. But it's not just the disasters that happen here that affect our property insurance rates. Insurance companies that write policies in multiple states spread the cost among their customers. This past year, rates are up between 10 and 16%. And in the coming weeks, the cost of federal flood insurance premiums will jump significantly.
When storms sweep across Oklahoma, they bring much-needed rain. But they can also spark fires with lightning strikes or unleash floodwaters, high winds, hail, and tornadoes.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we just heard the wind. It started, normal wind blowing is one thing, but this thing, it started like a jet engine.
That wind turned out to be an EF1 tornado. It ripped into Chris Glimp's home in Bixby.
Everything under the tarp is actually gone. The entire top of this and on the back side is the same way. That whole roof got torn off.
It also tore through the fence, backyard, and outbuildings of his neighbor's home.
We had a motorcycle and bicycles in the swimming pool, and this was a two-story building. It was my dad's woodworking shop, and it's all gone.
Robert McConnell and Glimp both have insurance. It will pay for repairs and replace damaged belongings.
I've got very good insurance on the house. I've never been worried because since it all happened, I've told my wife from the second it happened, said, that's why you have insurance.
Having coverage became important to McConnell the hard way.
I think about it a lot because I've been through flood before, and I know what can happen if you don't have enough insurance. I can't see how people survive without insurance. If today with the disasters that are going on in this world, without it, if you lose everything, it's almost impossible to, get back up and going again.
Oklahoma's insurance department doesn't track how many homes in the state are insured. That's because homeowners don't have to purchase coverage unless it's a requirement of their mortgage lender.
When someone in the state of Oklahoma has their home paid off, they are not required to carry insurance. There are many folks out there that we found out last year through the Oklahoma wildfires that have made a conscious decision to not carry coverage on their home if that was paid off.
Oklahoma Insurance Commissioner John Doak says many who choose not to carry coverage are under the mistaken notion the federal government will compensate them for natural disaster losses. It won't. He says it's up to homeowners to decide how much insurance to purchase because there isn't a one-size-fits-all model for coverage. Policies can be as basic as liability only or as comprehensive as full replacement coverage for the home and its contents. Having a low or high deductible and your credit score also affect rates. Doak says typical homeowners insurance covers fire, theft, wind, or tornado and hail damage.
Hail is the major factor in the state of Oklahoma related to losses. And when you think about it, a tornado hits a pretty isolated area, when they do hit, but then you can pull back and look at when a hailstorm hits, it can hit an entire county. A 1.5, 3-minute hailstorm with baseball-sized hail can do a massive amount of damage. Some of the things that it doesn't cover would be earthquake, flood, and those are here in the last few days in Oklahoma. We've experienced both of those.
The National Association of Insurance Commissioner tracks how much insurance companies collect in premiums and how much they pay out in claims. They don't track claims by the number of policies sold, just the total value of all policies. Nor do they track individual types of incidents responsible for payouts, like fires or tornadoes. Flood and earthquake insurance is tracked because those are separate add-ons, not part of the regular homeowner policy. In 2011, the last year numbers are available, insurers collected $1.1 billion in premiums for homeowners insurance in Oklahoma and paid out $956 million in claims. $9 million was paid for earthquake premiums, while insurance companies only paid out $215,000 in claims. And Oklahomans spent $8 million on flood insurance premiums, with claims payouts of just under $3 million. Doak says few people in Oklahoma bought earthquake insurance before last year, when temblors damaged homes and other structures in the central part of the state. And it's still not a popular add-on for most homeowners. Many Oklahomans, however, do purchase federal flood insurance, which Doak says will get a lot more expensive as new rates roll out over the next few weeks.
The federal flood program, the prices are going to be increasing dramatically to the tune of approximately 25% a year for the next 5 years. And we understand that some of the flood maps around the state of Oklahoma are being redrawn.
The maps are being redrawn and rates are going up because the Federal Flood Insurance Reform Act of 2012 calls for rates to reflect the true flood risk in an area to make the program more financially stable. McConnell has concerns about both earthquake and flood insurance.
We applied for flood insurance on this house 2 weeks ago, and they say you got to wait 60 days before it'll actually go into effect. So even it's the same way with earthquake insurance. If there's been an earthquake in a particular time period, you've got to wait so long before it'll go into effect.
How does that make you feel?
I think it's a little wrong. Well, if there's no damage to your property at the time and you're wanting the insurance, I think you should be able to get it instead of having to wait. Because by the time you're waiting, something could happen and you're out all that money.
Doak says there are no state laws governing waiting periods to purchase earthquake or flood coverage after a disaster. He says the flood insurance program is totally regulated by the federal government. As for purchasing blackouts and waiting periods for earthquake coverage, those are set by the individual insurance companies. It's to give insurers time to assess whether they can afford to pay claims by current policyholders before taking on additional clients.